Yo, what's good, everyone? Man, tonight I was thinking about not even making this broadcast, but I think this is a topic that we need to have a discussion about. But hey, I want to welcome y'all tonight to the broadcast. Today I have some regular guests, Yafel and my comrade Zaire. We're gonna really break down this topic tonight. Y'all can probably see the thumbnail. We're gonna really get into it heavy tonight. Disclaimer, I just want to say first and foremost, we're not going to talk about anybody personally. We're not going to attack anybody, no individuals. At least I'm not. I can't control what they do. But me personally, I'm not going to attack any individual. I'm just going to talk about overall organizations, from what you can see from the thumbnail. But before we get into that, just please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Black Empowerment Movement. If you like what you see, hey, feel free to share this, like, subscribe. But most definitely, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm gonna keep bringing you great content like this. So tonight, let's get into it, guys. Y'all see what the title is about. You see the title, you see the thumbnail. Tonight we're talking about some of the problems that came along with the creation of Panther organization. I like to say the most respectful way, non-original Panthers organization. So we want to get in that tonight. But before I get into it with you guys, we got to start it off with playing a clip from Bobby Seale. So let's get into that first. That's like the founder, one of the original founders from the Black Panther Party, which is still alive today. So let's get into that. Hold on one second, guys. Let's get that up. We wanna. I don't want y'all to just. Let's hear it from the person. The person. One of the originals. Talking about this. Let's see here. Is this it? This is it. Let's do this.
Me, I guess, was it's in regards to young people today. And he says, is there a need for a new Black Panther Party?
The existing new Black Panther Party, listen to me, y'all, every last one of you. Thumbs down. The group now that's calling themselves the new Black Panthers, zip. Everything I talked about here to you tonight, their rhetoric is totally antithetical to what we stood for and what we were about. They are confusing our African American history of what my Black Panther Party was about. Now, I appealed to them. We've had those guys at some of our reunions. They insulted us, etc., cutting my head off. That famous picture of me and Huey standing in front of the office, cutting my head up and putting Khalid's head up there. That's it. And then going to be arrogant about it. And so we told them to get out. Don't come to our reunions anymore. We was trying to educate you about what we were about, So I have nothing to do with them as a new Black Panthers. You see what I mean? And you don't have to have an organization named the Black Panther Party to do the positive, progressive things I'm talking about. There's all kind of organizational groups. They are progressive. You have to see how progressive an organizational group of people are and what they're about in terms of what they're organizing around. You know what I mean? And if it's really truly leading to not only.
All right. So we got a little introduction to what Bobby Seale was talking about. So Yafel, I'm gonna start this off with you, Yafel. Let's start from day one. Let's talk about where the first non-original Panther Party started from. If I'm correct, that started all in your hometown of Dallas, Texas. Can you give us the historical information regarding when the first non-original Panther was started? And give us, if you want to, give us a history how it all came about.
Good question. Good question. First and foremost, in terms of non-original Black Panther formations. Actually, the first started in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with Alderman Michael McGee. And Alderman Michael McGee was a city councilman, an elected official in Wisconsin, specifically Milwaukee, that called upon the formation of a militia based upon some of the very things that we're fighting for across the country now, the ills that we face across the country now, in terms of the degradation that exists in the community existing in Milwaukee. And so Alderman McGee first made the call for a formation to be started, modeled after the Black Panther Party, in which he was an original member of the Black Panther Party. And then second to that, you had the Black Cat Collective in New York that included original Panther Bullwhip. And then thirdly, this formation that started on about 1989 here in Dallas, Texas, became known later as the New Black Panther Party, but was first known as the Men in Black. And what the Men in Black were all about initially, their first maneuvers were about protesting um, African Americans having a position in the media, meaning that we have our voices as far as anchormen and whatnot in the media. And so they wanted to see a black face report instead of saying so many other faces report on black issues. And so this is how locally here in the city of Dallas, we begin to get local media represented with a little skin complexion, with some melanin. And so that's how I first got started.
Okay, okay. So let's talk about let's talk about what happened in Dallas. So that's where it really grew. It would you agree on that?
Well, in the history, and I know that wasn't your question. I know you specifically wanted to focus on Dallas, but I just kind of want to.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah,
I
because I
kind of
didn't even
want
know about that.
to break down. You had the group in Milwaukee, again that was started by Michael McGee. You had the Black Cat Collective that was in New York. You had the New Black Panther Party, which was in Dallas, Texas, and you had the Black Panther Vanguard, which was in Los Angeles.
Okay.
The 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 three, the Vanguard, the militia, and the Black Cat Collective, all had original Panther influence within those groups. The new Black Panther, of course, was a little bit different, being founded by Aaron Michaels. Now, Aaron Michaels' real name is Aaron McCarthy. A lot of people don't know that. Aaron Michaels is his stage name. He worked with John Wiley Price as a engineer on his radio station, and he used the name Michaels as a way to, use a different name.
Yeah.
But that organization got started here in Dallas, Texas, and they have an interesting relationship with the original Panther formation that was organized here in Dallas, Texas, that was organized between 1969 to 1978 here in this city, that ultimately led to sort of this issue, or I should say, this contradiction over the Panther name.
Got you. All right. And that bring me to my next video. And guys, I just want to get the videos out of the way because the videos gonna set up for where we're gonna take this thing tonight. So once again, man, Bobby Seale, he lays down a lot of good things, and he's gonna mention the Dallas chapter 2 in this next video, I believe. So let me pull that video up. Here we go. There we go.
Practical, progressive human being that wanted to help and work with us, work in coalition with us, other ethnic groups, other Asian, Native American, Puerto Rican, and others. This is where we had coalition politics. We crossed all racial lines and ethnic lines. And we said all power to all the people because really we were trying to get rid of institutionalized racism in America. And to run for political office is one method of trying to do that. And that's the way you want to try to get into political office, to change laws that's on the book. books. And this is largely what's happening. I mean, I have former Black Panther Party members. Bobby Rush is a United States congressman. Another person who was a community worker with the Black Panther Party was none other than Congresswoman Barbara Lee. I mean, and they stand up. These are stand-up people that we were fighting for constitutional, democratic, civil, human rights, economic parity, etc., that we stood for in the 1960s.
Okay, so with that point, which is exactly what the point that I wanted you to make, I want you to listen to King Samir Shabazz. He's the chair of the Philadelphia chapter, and he was speaking at a rally there. Take a listen to this, and I want to get your feedback.
We didn't come out here to play today. There's too much serious business going on in the black community to be out here sliding through South Street with white, dirty, cracker whore on our arm, and we call ourselves black men with African garb on. What the hell is wrong with you, black man? You had a doomsday with a white girl on your damn arm.
How does that make you feel?
Well, I mean, it's just that old xenophobic kind of rhetoric, you know, a xenophobic kind of rhetoric that turns into sort of a kind of a racist rhetoric rather than anything that's constructive. You know, we used to say the only true culture worth holding on to was really a people's revolutionary culture. In other words, re-evolving more political, economic, and social justice power back into the hands of the people. That's
So I want to stop it there real quick. So as you can see, Bobby Seale is basically talking about how they drastically different from that video they were just playing somebody from what is, if I'm correct, the new Black Panther Party, how they vastly different. And we can definitely see and that the new Black Panther Party is more of a Black nationalist organization. The original Black Panther Party was not a Black nationalist organization at all. As we currently hearing Bobby Seale saying out of his own mouth, they were more of a progressive organization, more lenient on socialist type Marxist ideology that wanted to put the power in the hands of all people. But since they were Black, I'm paraphrasing now, but since they're Black, they focus their ideology and socialist Marxist ideology around Black folks, but then they don't get it incorrect. They are for all power for all people, where the new Black Panther Party was strictly a Black nationalist organization that was against what we like to call the cracker in the world, or any other type of ethnic group in the world. So before we continue with the video, I just want to get y'all feedback on what we just watched. Anybody?
Well, you know, I mean, you see the differences in the ideology, the ideological centers, right? You know, one thing I want to say is that Panther symbol, I believe, came from Lawrence County, Alabama. It was a political symbol that was kind of adopted by different groups. I believe, could be wrong, but and I think that that's what was a part of this conversation, was that other people felt that they had a perspective on using that symbol, even though they had disagreed or had differences with the original Panther formation. So I think that this is what kind of leads into some of the splinters, or why things change, and why so many people are using this image to have drastically different ideologies. And then I think also what you see is a kind of I want to say hijacking, though, because we all kind of understand after like the Oakland chapter of the Black Panther Party, there should be a common understanding of who they are, but you'll see like different generations trying to come up and say, well, this is how we represent it, but then you'll have these different perspectives on, oh, well, this is how we express Black power versus maybe how they expressed it at another point in time. So I think what you're getting at is a difference in perspective and in generations.
And I'm definitely gonna get into that, because I feel like everyone that used the Panther name and that organization name is leeches at the end of the day. But I'm gonna continue on with this video. Let's continue.
That's really what's necessary to be held on to, rather than making absurd racial categorical remarks That's not what it's about. You know what I mean? If they use my book, Seize the Time, they should read page 69. It says why we are not racist. I state there, and I stated in 1970 when I wrote the book, as a political prisoner at the time, we will never ever stoop to the low scurvy level of the mentality of a racist just to hate another person just because of the color of their skin or their ethnicity. We don't do that. That's not what the goal objective. The goal objective is human liberation. The goal objective is a greater community cooperation with humanism. The goal objective is to get rid of institutionalized racism. And for instance, being a great supporter, Barack Obama is a representative of us having gotten rid of a large aspect of institutionalized racism here in the United States of America.
And final thought, just looking back at some of the pictures on your website
Oh, I had to stop it right there. I couldn't let that slide. Now, people, don't get it twisted. I do not always agree with things that came from the original Black Panther. It's things I do not agree with. It's some stuff I do not agree with for original Black Panther. Nobody's perfect. That ain't the. I'm not here to say people that created those their own formation wasn't right or wrong. We here to discuss the leeching off the legacy of the name. Like what he just said, I totally disagree with. I hope Bobby Seale don't feel the same way about Barack Obama now, because this is an old video, probably when Barack Obama first got elected or something. Hopefully Mr. Seale don't feel the same way no more. But that's just one example of like, don't agree with Mr. Seale on that one, but let's keep watching that.
Reminded me of what you made happen, the free breakfast program, the youth institutes, the free ambulance service. Just looking back at these images, so different, Bobby, from the images we see within the new Black Panther Party. Are you concerned about how the new Black Panther Party is affecting your legacy and the good things you did, as you say, not only for the African-American community, but for all?
Well, the problem with the young people, you see, the new Black Panthers have been around since 1989 out of Dallas, Texas originally. And the old Black Panthers there called me up. They're a bunch of PhDs and stuff. And says, Chairman Bobby, you got to do something and come down here and speak about these guys because they're distorting what we were about. So they don't understand this. So the new Black Panthers in their changed form have never put up one of these kinds of programs. Now, the programs help unify the people in the community, unify the electoral power in the community. When you unify the electoral power in the community, then you're doing a heck of a lot more because you're going to.
So I'm going to stop it right there, too. So as y'all can hear, back in 1989, Phil already gave us the historical beginning, even before the Dallas chapter was established. But he was like, the original Black Panthers in Dallas were telling him, hey, man, this new Black Panther thing, these guys are running amok of our name. Can you come down here and do something, Mr. Seale? What can we do? Now, guys, we got to understand, 1989, 90, all the original members, Bobby Seale and the original Panthers in Dallas, these are old men now. They are old men. Now you got these young fellas coming to do the thing to distort their name by using the Panther name in the organization they starting to get up and going in Dallas. These are young fellas. Now the original Panther, they're older. They older now. They don't have that to go in there and knock these young niggas, young people across their heads. So we gotta remember, like, these are old men in the late 90s. You know, they
a lot of them are locked up too.
Yeah, a lot of them was locked up, killed. They old. They got business. They teachers. They out of that now. So
I can comment specifically to Mr. Fahim Minka, of course, who was the chairperson, or I should say the representative of the state of Texas for the Black Panther Party here. And of course, after ending the party in 1978, of course, he kept organizing, but specifically 1987, 88, 89, he had organized a group called African American Men Against Narcotics. Now, if you grew up in the 80s and the early 90s, you remember Ronald Reagan in particular, as well as Mrs. Reagan, Nancy Reagan's cry, "Say no to drugs." And of course, at that particular time, a lot of people were anti-drug, and so they began these anti-drug patrols. So I just wanted to state that not all former members of the Black Panther Party at that particular time wasn't active, because definitely Mr. Minka was, Fahim Minka was, and definitely Mr. Charles Beasley was, and definitely Khalif Hassan was as well. And all of these men were members of the party in Dallas. Khalif Hassan coming out of California, of course, here to the city. And these three individuals, along with others, helped create that formation. And they was very active, particularly in patrolling the Jeffrey Myers part of South Dallas. And once Mr. Minka, Fahim Minka, and Charles Beasley brought it back to Oak Cliff, patrolling Prince Hall Apartments and setting up institutions in the city. So I tend to think about that particular time in 1988, 89, that there was a different groups of formation, but the original Panthers here in this city had their own formation. They didn't call themselves Black Panthers, of course, but they called themselves African American Men Against Narcotics.
And yeah, for me, actually, it's because you have a lot of the oral history passed down from a lot of the original members from that time, especially Fahim Minka. What would you say, or you can maybe you can express to us, did they try to squash this formation of this new Black Panther Party? What effort was taken to even start to get this nipped in the bud before it spread it like a cancer?
So first and foremost, they looked at the fledgling new Black Panther Party at that particular time as sons, daughters, or whatnot at that particular time, and they met with them at the Prince Hall apartment complex in the back. They had an office. Mr. Minka did at that particular time had an office, and him and some of the elder members of the Black Panther Party met that particular time. B. Smitty was one of those party members. Akatunde Funzo was another one of those members, and they were sitting down, having conversations with them, just discussing what exactly their plans was. Just keep in mind that these drug patrols that was going on in the community was done by African American Men Against Narcotics, but they was also done by the fledgling new Black Panther Party as well, that was patrolling the community. Some in the same areas. They was targeting these drug dealers. And for example, is the way we demonstrate or protest or have protested police, they were demonstrating and protesting drug dealers, meaning standing in front of drug dealers' houses and things of this nature. And so both groups at the time was doing that. So it was a concerted effort to sit down and meet and have a dialogue. Those members of the original party felt as though they needed some political education to understand what and why they was doing what they was doing. And those of the new Black Panther Party early formation was like, well, we got guns and we can read later. Right now, we need to be in the street and need to organize the community. So that was kind of where the conflict lie. It was one end of it saw that there was a lack of political education or lack of education or desire to have education, and the other end felt like we need guns, we need to be marching in the streets. So that's kind of where it divided initially, at least from my understanding. But they met several times in Prince Hall apartment complex and had these meetings in order to try to bring some unity. But the original members, of course, wanted to advise them, and I don't think the members of the new party wanted to take much advice.
Oh wow, man, that's some good historic background right there to put things in context. Let's finish this video. We almost done with the video.
To the core, you go into the law books, you go into the city charters, you go into the legislative framework that made the laws in the first place. When Rosa Parks was forced to move to the back of the bus There was a law on the books that said that. So the objective is to change that law, and that's the way you change institutionalized racism in America. Now, we got attacked and we defended ourselves. I mean, I have 28 dead Black Panther Party members by the end of December, you know what I mean? But then who steps in? United States Congress. Finally, we got Ted Kennedy and Senator Church to step in, and they put the FBI and the police on the hot seat about running around attacking all our Black Panther Party. After that, there were never ever many more shootouts in the Black community. And we went on to continue to run for political office, organize programs, get whole major institutions in our community, etc. That is what evolving human liberation is truly about.
Bobby Seale.
Wow. Okay. So let's go in. At the end of the video, they show some familiar faces. Some very familiar faces. Hey, Katrina Evans, Black. I'm about to say Black Power. All power to the people. Well, it might be Black Power to who, depending on who you're talking to. Katrina Evans, what's good? She said it's been very educational. And I don't want to knock people that say Black Power. I like saying Black Power, all power to the people. But that ain't, that some people have a problem with Black Power. But I nothing wrong with it, I say. But nevertheless, our comrade Katrina Evans, thank you for watching. We saw some familiar faces. Malik, Shabazz, and Khalid Muhammad. They play a part in this story. They play a major part in this story, I believe. Y'all feel? Zahir, I'm gonna get you in there, man. But I gotta drain all this information out of Yafel tonight, man, because he's the oracle right now. All right, Yafel. Bring us to the part where Khalid Muhammad come into the picture. Let's get into it.
I think the way Khalid Muhammad came into the formation was because he was trying to avoid assassination. I think Minister Best, who was a minister within the Nation of Islam, James Best, excuse me, I think that's his name, attempted to assassinate him. And of course, he was dealing with issues from his statement in 1994 from King College that caused the Nation of Islam to split with Khalid Muhammad. And of course, he was just looking for an organization. He ultimately came to Fort Worth, Texas, and was looking for a place. And he found haven, a safe haven, amongst members of the new Black Panther Party, predominantly because of their position on weapons at that particular time. And so that's more or less, I think, what was his introduction in kind of a nutshell into the new Black Panther Party. And I think predominantly from the original Black Panther Party perspective, that's sort of kind of where the discontent lies from an ideological perspective. Keep in mind, I'm a son, a nephew, a cousin of members of the Nation of Islam prior to 1975. And so I understand the Nation of Islam perspective, and I have some agreements with it, of course. But what Khalid Muhammad was bringing to the new Black Panther at that particular time was not at least a Black Panther sort of ideology. It was more of a Nation of Islam ideology. And I think that that's where this whole thing sort of, kind of derailed. I think prior to that, I remember Bobby Seale was stating that he was, supported the idea of a new party. And many of the former members at that particular time, as I kind of mentioned, were in communication with members of the fledgling new Black Panther Party here in the city of Dallas. I'm speaking specifically just about here in the city of Dallas. But after Mr. Muhammad, Khalid Muhammad got involved, I think that's where the breakdown went. I talked to Khalif Hassan, and what Bobby Seale mentioned about the kind of disagreement they had at one of their reunions, that was with Mr. Khalif Hassan. Khalif Hassan is one of the foregoing members of the Dallas chapter here, and they had a sort of a verbal altercation. at that time, and I think members of the new Black Panther Party were being aggressive at the reunion, and some of the elders had took a position against it, in particular Mr. Khalif Hassan. And when Khalif Hassan took a position against him, and him and Khalid got into each other's face and had words, that's more or less how they were dismissed from the meeting. Later on, of course, it led to Mr. Fahim Minka and Mr. Marvin E. Crenshaw, who are, who are people that I spoke with almost on a daily basis, and even Mr. Crenshaw now on a daily basis, educate me on certain moves that he believes that should be made in the community that I support. Took a position from a legal perspective to challenge the name. Now, I know a lot of us, particularly youths, and say, well, we could have continued to sat down and have that conversation. But I think it's important. Not only is speaking out is important, but also having the ability to file paperwork is important too. Having the ability to put paperwork before the world, that's something that's going to be a standard that the world would have to contend with or even listen to. And so when Fahim Mick and Marvin E. Crenshaw brought the lawsuit against the new Black Panther Party, particularly Aaron Michaels, or Aaron McCarthy, I should say, that of course created a snowball effect where a lot of the elder members and a lot of the younger members or the new members began to choose, had to take a sides. And so that's kind of what led to where we at today, essentially, was that lawsuit that was filed. And basically it was over the name. Who can use the Black Panther Party name and the Black Panther Party legacy? And to be frank about it, I think it's ludicrous for us as being used to try to continuously mimic, mock, and try to use, for example, something from a previous generation where we're still kind of walking around kind of using old tactics. And I think that we can afford to advance our tactics and do something a little differently. I had formerly thought, like how a lot of the youth think about it, that was formerly my position until I sat down and thought about it. And for those that are listening, right now, even today, like those old tactics, I know that we are impressed with the Black Panther Party formations. I know we in love with them. I know we romanticized about them. I know we love the guns. I know we love Black Power. I know that, and I get that 100% because I have felt that. I'm one of the people that first and foremost have agreed with that position. By the way, I helped create the Huey P. Newton Gun Club, based upon my love for the original Black Panther Party. Okay, but in reality, we have to be really consider changing our tactics, and we have to realize that Panther, the image of the Panther, that's just a beat up image, and we have to change that.
Facts. And Katrina said that's truth. That's truth. And Zaire, I want you to jump in there with your thoughts. I know you have a lot to say regarding Shabazz and Khalid Muhammad in that time frame when they joined.
Well, I think like what's important is that there's just like a new feeling from a group of people who felt that the Panthers aren't speaking to what we represent, and once that started feeling, I almost feel like there probably couldn't have been any reconciliation, because it's almost kind of like how I always approach these things is, you either have this line or you don't. It's like maintain the line is what I was taught in the New African movements, right? Keep politics in command. And so what you have like these different thoughts of, we are the ones who this is what we believe to be true, and now we got this new leader, Khalid Muhammad, who's gonna carry this in forth. And once that happened, I just think there wasn't any kind of coming back. And as far as like, you know, that logo, I think that's where really a lot of discrepancies go around, because I think they were able to use it just because the Panther kind of represented all of these different formations at one point in time. But I think it's a tragedy that this legacy had to go down like that, because what they represented was kind of co-opted by nationalists who didn't share the same sentiment and watered down the legacy of the Panthers, in my opinion. And now you got a whole bunch of people coming out claiming to represent this thing and probably hasn't read a page of Huey or Bobby, Fred Hampton. They ain't read a page. They don't care to look at it. And it just repeats itself. It's the same cycle. So I'm definitely 100% in agreement with Yafeo that we need to burn that image and just throw it in the trash. Just get done with it, because the legacy is just tarnished beyond repair. And we got to rethink our situation, carry the same principles, and move on and to a new generation.
Guys, I'm gonna be frank. I think what Yafel said is true. Khalid Muhammad, his whole situation with the NOI, found a safe haven in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This was a sanctuary for him. And them boys had tools. He needed protection. He was on the run for his life. He didn't want to end up like Malcolm X. So he found safety in Dallas. And he's a charismatic personality. And he had that NOI ideology, black nationalist. And let's just keep it frank, man. He gave, with his personality, he started a big bushfire. And he was very disrespectful with the Panther legacy. I don't think the original guys that started out with, in all the other cities, but especially Dallas, they didn't have any disrespect in their heart. Me personally, I think the disrespect came when the big time figure Khalid Muhammad came into town, and he rubbed off on them, and they felt the bravado they need to carry too. And at the end of the day, they would just fucking like, we gonna take your legacy, we gonna have this name, and we gonna redefine it where people don't even, when they think of Panthers, they ain't gonna think about y'all ninjas in the history book. I love Khalid Muhammad. I love his speeches. I love some of the things he stands for. But he was dead wrong with how he took advantage and tried to water down and erase the original Panthers out of the history book. Dead wrong. No ifs and ands or buts about that. He was dead wrong. And from that, now we got, because he's a personality. He's a strong personality. So from what he did, and then his untimely death, then you get all these other V's of Panthers organization, this Panther organization, that Panther organization, Boy Scout Panther organization, that Panther organization, new this, new that, new Panther, new that. You get all these other Panther organizations because they saw the success of the personality of Khalid Muhammad, what he was able to do with the new Black Panther Party. They saw his success, how they was able to grow their membership based off his personality alone. So people was like, damn, Khalid Muhammad was able to use the name of the Panthers, his personality, to get membership and push their own individual ideology and grow. So it gave everybody else the idea to do the same thing, to add Panther name to the organization, add some type of form of a Panther on their logo. Long you have a Panther on the logo, Black Panther in the name, and you just twist it up a little bit, add a little sprinkle of a charismatic person as the leader, and you can get members. And just call it what it is. All these other Panther organizations are nothing but leeches. They know they had to use the Panther name, a Black Panther name logo to gain members to leech off the legacy of the original Black Panther Party. They ain't nothing but leeches and using the legacy and the hard work of all Panther members from original to gain notoriety, memberships. Because without that name, Panthers in their organization name, they wouldn't be nobodies. They know they would. That's why they have to use that name. That's why I have much respect for Matulu and all the Shakors and everybody else that started an organization that didn't use the Panther name. You had the Republic of New Africa. You had all those organizations. They did not use the name Panthers because they was part of the original Panther Party and didn't want to use the name. They left those organizations because they disagreed with the ideology at some point and left and started their own organization without using the name of the Panthers because they wanted to start their own legacy. But all these other ninjas out here, they leeches. That's what they are. They leeches and they cunning people. They cunning people and they leeches and they not doing it respectfully. They not doing it to respect the original members. They doing it as leeches. And we be nice about this because people not knowing, coming into the movement, thinking these are offshoot of the original Panthers, and they not. They just downright leeches and deceivers. Sorry to get on my soapbox, but that's what it is. We got to call it what it is. We got to
It could be a problem, a lack of a good leadership too. I mean, because I think what happens is a lot of people want to join movement, and then they see somebody out there in the street just having some kind of action, some kind of interactions, or doing anything. I mean, for me, even looking at the video, I kind of smiled a little bit when I saw the new Black Panther Party spit on the American flag. I was just like, yeah, that's cool. So it was a little bit of that, just seeing some action out there that people are inspired and they want to join. But then it's sort of like, yeah, I saw that Panther movie. Yeah, let's just call ourselves Panthers. And they go out there and they just take the name without even really trying to really understand what those original formations were about. So that, I think that adds to the problem a whole lot. But then also, a lot of the Panthers were locked up and there wasn't a lot of that. The organization itself was destroyed. So it wasn't a lot of that leadership or guidance out there. And so I believe that's a part of the problem, because I still see that happen today. I mean, people read and they may not even understand, but, they may have good intentions. But sometimes, a lot of other times, it's really just ego of the leadership, and they just want to call it something. And like you said, they leeches. So.
And the biggest thing with me, they confusing people, man. They really out here confusing people. You got people, let's say like me, I haven't always been in the movement since I was a young teenager. I'm new to the movement. And when I get into this thing, I'm saying like, hold on, now you telling me this thing that was called the new Black Panther Party and that Panther Party, they ain't even like have no connection to the original Panther Party? Then I'm asking questions. I'm like, okay, so why they using the name Panther? Why they have what they? And then as I learned more about political education and ideology of different organizations, I'm like, the ideology is totally different. Even if I might agree mostly with the Black nationalists on a lot of things, but they lose all credibility and points with me when they leeching. Like, that's character flaw issues. That's got to say a lot about your character. And to be stubborn. And not even just be stubborn. It's like, well, it is what it is. Come on, man. It's just totally disrespectful. Totally disrespectful. Because at the end of the day, this is my opinion. People don't feel like they can motivate people and grab the attention of the people on their own. Like I'm gonna get like me and people that that co-founded the Black Empowerment Movement. There's no way in hell I would have named this add a Panther name in that. If I would have added me knowing what I know why I'm doing it. Consciously, I know if I add Panther name into anything that I'm thinking about creating, I know I'm getting the attention of the organization because people are going to make that connection from the original Panther. I know that's going to do that to the people. So these people know they are intentionally confusing people to thinking that they have a connection to the original Panther Party. When especially when they got movies out talking about making movies about Fred Hampton and all this type of stuff, documentary about the original Panthers, people are gonna go out and see these movies. They're gonna go on Google, do their own research. They're gonna see something pop up about the new Black Panther and thinking these people are connected to each other. These organizations are connected to each other, when in fact, it's the total opposite. That the new Black Panther Party and all these other, I can't say all, but particularly the new Black Panther Party, they hated the original Panthers. They hated everything they stood for. And that's fine. But do it. You ain't got to name your organization. That's just a whole nother level of disrespect when you take somebody's name and try to flip it and water down the legacy of another organization. It's just a whole new level of disrespect. And I think moving forward, the current generation needs to stop using Black Panther names in that organization that they started, and stop using a panther in their logo. All of that. Just stop. You're confusing people. You're watering down the legacy. If you respect, you may not always agree with everything that those original Panthers stood for. That's fine, because I don't either. But have respect. Just have some decency, not to water down their legacy. At the end of the day, you may have some great ideas. You may really want to do work in the community for the people with your own ideas, your own way of doing things. That's cool. That's fine and dandy. But don't water down the legacy of the Panther, the original Panther, by adding Black Panther in your organization name and using a Panther logo. Just have some decency and some respect and some good moral character. And what I come to find, not all, but the organization that used that Panther name, 9 times out of 10, they ain't on the up and up. They shady characters. They have shady leaders. They do shady business. That's a clear sign that you don't even need to be fucking with them. If they can do that to the original Panther Party, that just lets you know the character of the people in them organizations. That should be a red flag that they got shady leadership, shady people in it, and do shady business. And probably part of COINTEL in the same sentence. Just shady all around. And you should steer clear from those type of organizations. Because they bad character, they rotten to the core most of the time. And I'm sorry, guys. I did it again. Y'all fell, man. Jump in there, man. I know you got something to say, man.
Well, I think kind of leaning to the reason that you just kind of stated, the reason that we started Guerrilla Mainframe, and you know, we chose a name that, of course, that most people was not familiar with it, and tried to work with, you know, in the community with that name versus some other things that we could have selected. But I think it's important at this point for your listeners and for people in general, and not just particularly with the Panthers per se, but just in general, is to be willing to connect yourself with an elder. I think that's very important. I think that's absolute. It took me a while to get to this position because I was a person that felt like I could follow my own understanding and didn't have to have anyone to sort of kind of give me a difference of perspective. But I think that we need that elder. And so for me personally, like I said, Mr. Minka before he passed, Mr. Marvin E. Crenshaw, and other people, Vandeli Tayumba, who was the owner of Pan African Connection, who first told me when he saw me interested in that type of militant. He said, "Why take ourselves backwards when we need to be going forwards?" And so that was something that he always told me, and he let me go on and make my own mistakes. But that was something he told me. He says, "Stop going backwards. Let's go forwards." Because he realized, the lure or the attraction of the romanticism. So I say that to say to your listeners, get an elder, find an elder in the community. They can be involved in any particular organization, especially if revolutionary, and ask them some questions. They may tell you some things that you disagree with. They may say things you agree with. But I think the most important piece that you can take from it is something that I've taken from talking with my elders, is understanding the historical part of organizing your city. I can tell you about organizing in the city of Dallas, probably from 1969 to current, just based upon my conversations, and not just conversations with one person or two people, but I'm having conversations with multiple elders, and I'm sort of connecting the dots and seeing how we came into existence today. And to the extent that I realize the same conversation that I'm having here in 2022 is the same conversation that they had in 1988 internally amongst organizations. Uh, my opinion is that Khalid Muhammad was not a Panther. He never was a Panther. He was an excellent member of the Nation of Islam, though. However, he was an excellent spokesman of the Nation of Islam, and I love Brother Khalid Muhammad for what he stood for, but he was not a Black Panther. And once people realize that, just as much as you can't be a gangster disciple, um, just from not going through their whatever processes, or a Black disciple, or whatever you're trying to join, you can't join the U.S. Army without at least going to 9 to 14 weeks of boot camp. Just can't just put a BDU uniform on, a Army combat uniform on, and just be a member of the Army. You have to go through some training. So that's the same expectation you would have with any other person, regardless of their stature in society. And so that's just my point. Get with the elder, learn some things, challenge yourself, and just continue to grow.
Indeed.
I want to add, when you're doing your own studying too, it's okay to disagree. That don't mean you got disrespect or trash Panthers, but read, and if your perspective don't agree with theirs, don't call yourself a Panther. I think that's just simple. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't try to change Pantherism to fit your ideology. Change your ideology if you want to be a Panther. Change your ideology to fit what they were saying. I think that is a huge problem that happens across the spectrum, even with people who don't even call themselves Panthers, but use the underlying philosophy, the Marxism, and all this other stuff. Quit taking it and then saying, "Oh, it represents my conclusion," because that's when you're going to run into a whole lot of problems. And so, if you look into a lot of those organizations, if you look at their ideology, even though most of them don't have one, but the ones that even do have one, look into it, you'll see that they mixing it all up, and you're like, how this don't even make sense of what they were saying over there. So, I'm just saying that to say, if you don't agree, it's okay. Find groups that you agree with, or maybe you can say, if I'm gonna make something new, again, don't call it Panther. Make something new.
Hey, look at Marcus, man. Marcus being petty. But that's very true, Zaire. And guys, and people watching, if you're watching right now, please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, people. Please, I'm gonna keep bringing dope conversation like this. This is needed. We're not disrespecting any individual. We did use Khalid Muhammad's name, but we definitely love Khalid Muhammad. But if you like what we're talking about, even if you don't like, leave a comment. If you disagree with us, leave a comment with what you disagree with. I'm good with getting in there later on and going back and forth with you in the comment section. But most importantly, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to still grow the channel so I can keep bringing dope conversation, dope guests like I have right now. So, hey, go if you're watching from Facebook, go to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel. do that. Give me the hookup on that. I definitely need it. But yeah, man, we hit all angles tonight. This was a dope conversation that's really needed because there's a lot of young folks coming up in the movement that may not know these things, and they don't supposed to know these things. And us as elders, gentlemen now, we getting up there pushing 40. We supposed to educate the young 20-year-olds coming into this movement. Some on some knuckleheads, they all rowdy, don't want to listen sometimes, but they gonna get this knowledge. They gonna get this knowledge, whether they want to or not. The choice is there, but we gonna feed them this knowledge. So if they make the wrong decisions, it's on them. At least we did we spread the Holy Ghost, so we did our job. As the church people say, once you do your job with spreading the Holy Ghost, it's up to that person to accept it or not. They could take me back to my church days. I was a church boy. Y'all don't know that. But yeah, man, dope conversation. And also, guys, I want y'all to let y'all know, hey, what y'all seeing on the panel, this is CMB right here, Community Movement Builders. Y'all feel, he running the Dallas location of CMB. We got Zaire out there in Atlanta. We out here, and I'm in Fort Worth, Community Movement Builders. As you notice, we don't have Community Panther Builders in the name. It's Community Movement Builders. We don't have to use a Black Panther in the name of the organization. We don't have to have a Panther logo to do the work, So check us out, Community Movement Builders. We definitely gonna be doing great things in Fort Worth, Dallas, Atlanta. We got Detroit location. It's another location we have. I'm new to the organization, man. You got what other location you got?
We had San Diego chapter. We had a couple of folks up in Oakland, around the Oakland area, and a couple of people in Tennessee.
Yeah. I think someone in St. Louis too, I believe.
In St. Louis, that's right.
Yeah. So yeah, Black Empowerment. We part of. We in formation with Community Movement Builders. We're like, we about to get back heavily active out here. If you know the history of BEM, how we get down, man, we about to stir up a lot of things locally in the DFW area. So get ready. Once I put my mind to something, man, I'm at it. So I know y'all be like, man, where Kentu been? Where Kentu been? We ain't been saying Kentu and BM doing this, that, and the third. Oh man, as y'all always say, sometimes you gotta move in silence, Been working on some things. So don't worry. Y'all about to see me back. You may not see me, I might just be behind the scenes. But nevertheless, man, we're gonna get active. That's right, Marcus. Let me see what Marcus just said. Yeah, he said we CMB too. Yeah, Marcus, conversation very necessary. Yeah, Marcus is a good brother. Marcus is a good dude, man. I'll tell you about Marcus. Marcus work with anybody, man. He get along with everybody.
So let me mention that too. And he is a good brother, and he's the most solid brother. And I'm also on the board of CIVN. Just want to state that he's probably one of the most progressive brothers that we got here in the city of Dallas, period. And he's working very closely with us and leading the name of the park name change. He's been working on the ground. I was just with him yesterday. We was getting a few signatures, talking to people. And so I just wanted to say publicly, I appreciate Marcus, because a lot of things wouldn't happen unless he agreed with him. And so he definitely stamped the movement for the park name change, because it's just, we're working it on the ground best we can.
Indeed. Yes, Marcus is a good brother. He put in a lot of hard work, does a lot of activism in the DFW. He always willing to lend a helping hand to any organization that asks for help. We need good brothers, good soldiers, good leaders, good followers like that, man. He encompasses all of that. Salute to Marcus. Yes, sir. We love you too, brother. But other than that, guys, we about to get out of here. I hope y'all enjoyed the broadcast tonight. But before we
got a
leave, I
question.
will be y'all final words. Go ahead, Zaire.
Yafea, is there any groups that use a Panther name that you support today?
I do support the brother Shaka Zulu in New Jersey. I think they got the Hanif Hassan Community Center. I definitely do support the efforts and the works of those brothers and sisters and what they doing in New Jersey. And so that's, I kind of leave it to that. Beyond that, for me, it's about pushing the legacy of this Dallas chapter, Black Panther Party, locally, and making sure that these elders here are recognized. That's primarily what my position is locally as far as dealing with the elders. So that's all I'm gonna say on that.
You think it's any chance possible we can get the one like the guy in New Jersey? Is there any way possible we can get them to dissolve that organization, just take on the CMB monitor? Like just dissolve that and just say, hey, we gonna erase that name you got. You're doing great work. Your ideology aligned with us, and just be CMB.
I tried.
You tried.
Yeah.
Well, then he kind of leached too bad. But he
They're good brothers, man. They're good brothers. They're good brothers.
You got the same people, the same ideology. They just get rid of the name. And he said, no. So he unleashed too. That's how I see it. I know y'all might know this brother personally, but at the end of the day, he leeching. I don't have no relation to
that. So I thought they did a good job in keeping the original ideology alive. But yeah.
Yep, he leeching.
Okay.
But yeah, guys, we're gonna get out of here, man. As always, all power to the people. Till next time. Peace.